Comments for the week ending September 11th from the beef farmers of Ontario. There were 510 head of steers and heifers sold through auction markets last week, up 172 head from the previous week. Fed steers averaged 328.35 per hundredweight, up 144 per hundred, and fed heifers averaged 324.79 per hundredweight, up 346 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction markets reported that fed steers and heifers sold $3 to $5 higher. In Ontario, dress sales were reported at $5.42 per hundredweight delivered, fully steady with the previous week. For the week ending August 30th, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports to the U.S. were 2,740 head, 11% above last year and 27% above the 5-year average. Year-to-date, Eastern fed cattle and cow exports were 1% lower than last year. Cull cow receipts sold through auction markets last week were 1,615 head, up 32 head from the previous week. Cows averaged 201.61 per hundredweight, down 81 cents per hundred. Beef cows averaged 226.11 per hundredweight, up 5.25 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Auction markets reported on Saturday, September 6th, actively at steady to stronger prices. By Wednesday, fed cows sold steady. Total receipts were 8,759 head last week. Receipts of 4,688 stockers and feeder cattle sold through Ontario auction markets last week, up 259 head from the previous week. Auction markets reported on Friday, September 5th, that calves and yearlings sold on a strong active trade at prices $5 to $8 higher. By Thursday, stockers sold on a steady market with quality considered. The Quebec electronic market last week sold at $5.36 per hundredweight dressed on a picked-up basis, up $9 per hundred from the previous week's trade. Last week, Alberta fed prices averaged in the low 3.10s per hundredweight. Western Canadian fed prices have rallied $13 per hundredweight over the last month. Not only have prices advanced, but basis levels have also strengthened. Alberta fed prices were at an estimated $22 per hundredweight discount against the Nebraska market, the strongest basis since July 2025. Dress sales were reported at $5.25 per hundredweight delivered, $5 to $15 per hundred stronger than the previous week. Cattle that traded were scheduled for delivery for the second half of September. By Thursday, September 11th, moderate trade developed, with dress sales reported from $5.25 to $5.27 per hundredweight delivered, steady to $2 per hundred stronger than the previous week. For the week ending September 6th, Western Canadian fed processing was 36,752 head, 3.4% lower than last year. The U.S. cash cattle trade last week saw dress sales on the northern feeding states reported from $3.73 to $3.78 per hundredweight, $8 per hundred lower than the previous week. Live sales in the north were reported from $2.38 to $2.40 per hundredweight, $3 to $4 per hundred lower. Sales in Texas and Kansas were mostly at $2.40 per hundredweight live, $2 to $3 per hundred weaker. USDA released its world supply and demand report the other day. Corn production for 2025-26 is reported at 16.8 billion bushels, up 72 million bushels from last month. Even though yields were revised lower, harvested acres were increased 1.3 million acres. If realized, this would be the largest harvested acres since the early 1930s. This is Jamie Kerr with the Beef Farmers of Ontario's Market Information Report.